Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Hello, can you hear me okay? Okay, perfect. Thank you for that confirmation. Just going to give it a couple of minutes as folks enter the waiting room and come in here and get connected to audio. But I'll go ahead and share my screen in the meantime. If you would like to put your name, pronouns, and organization in the chat, that would be great. So we can just track who all is here and be in community with one another. And as a reminder, this is going to be recorded. It is currently being recorded. And so if that is not okay with you, feel free to do what you need to do. Turn your camera off, log off, anything like that, and you can watch it later. But thank you all so much for being here. And there's still folks coming in the waiting room, so we'll just give it a couple more minutes. As you're entering, feel free to put your name and pronouns and organization in the chat so we can see who all we have with us today. All righty. Okay, it seems like the waiting room has slowed down a bit, so why don't we go ahead and get started? Like I said, this is recorded, and so just want to make sure everyone's aware of that from the outset, and we will be sharing this out so that folks that weren't able to make it still have access to this database and sort of the information on how to navigate it, because I know a lot of folks aren't familiar with Airtable. To start out, my name is Abby Anderson. I use she and they pronouns, and I am with KCRHA. I'm on the sub-regional planning team, and we were the team that sort of boosted up the creation of this database. I am the South King County sub-regional planner, so kind of have South and Southeast under my wing. And we also have a Seattle planner and an East planner. They both, unfortunately, are not able to make it today, so you're stuck with me. but that's okay because I actually helped get this through the finish line. So they started it, and I joined in about 3 months ago, helping to sort of put on the finishing touches and ribbons and bows and things like that. So thank you all for introducing yourself in the chat. Please continue to do so as folks come in, and we can go ahead and get started. So today we'll be doing is really going over Airtable, which is the software that this database is held on and being published on, because I know it's new to a lot of people. It was new to me before I started using it on the back end, and we want to make sure that the work that we've done is able to be accessible to everyone. So, oh, excuse me. So today we'll just do a quick welcome. We just did that. We'll talk about the regional services database, sort of the how, what, and why it came to be. Excuse me, one second. And then we will talk about Airtable and how to navigate it and go through some demos on using Airtable and using this database. And then we'll have a chance for discussion and feedback at the very end. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing is how the regional services database was created. So about 7 months ago, these databases all became to live and be managed by the Regional Homelessness Authority. And because of that, for the first time ever, they were housed under one roof, and we were able to sort of look at them and crosswalk them to combine all of these services. So we had HMIS, the Homelessness Management Information System. We now hold coordinated entry. We have the housing inventory count, also known as the HIC, and then we have project service agreements housed within Flux. So with all of that, we combined them and checked all of the information with providers doing site visits and emailing. And I'm sure most of you on the call got an emails who did site visits with either myself, Alexis, or one of my teammates. And so what we did was combine all of these, review the information, and then we coded it so that it would be consistent across all of the different providers. And that coding kind of looks something like this. So we had a narrative description of, let's say this is just about the program type. So male, single adults, homeless men, families. And what we did was create categories that each of those could fall under so that it'd be easily searchable in this ultimate final database. And we manually did all of this work, and I can't take any credit. I've only been here for 3.5 months. My team is incredible and did a lot of that work to start us out. And then we went back and checked it again with all of our service providers. So again, you probably got more emails from us saying, you know, this is the information you gave us. This is how we interpreted it and coded it. And now here's our final database. Let me just check the waiting room really quick. Perfect. All right, and then that brings us to the what. So what does the database become after doing all of that data work and crosswalking? It has become this comprehensive data set that has every homelessness service provider in King County, and it's sortable by type of program, by city, by subregion, and by a number of other characteristics. I think we have about 20 in the final version of the database. And it's the first thing of its kind where we have all of the information, the program names, the service provider organization, region, household type served, subpopulation served. So it's the first time we've ever had all of these in one place and in a place that's accessible to the general public. And then the why is another big question that we get. And there's kind of 3 main reasons for creating this database. The first one that my team sees is advocacy. So this has enabled us to view gaps in services across the region. And that way we know what we need to build up. And we can work together to bridge connections across those different, whether it be subregions, program types, households served. And so it's really a tool where you can search and sort of put some data to whatever you're advocating for. The second piece is education. So educating the public on what's available in their area, educating other service providers to help build connections across service providers, outreach workers, anything of that kind. And then finally, of course, connections to resources. So if you're really trying to help someone and you don't know where to send them, maybe they have something in particular they need. Maybe they need storage and they need it to be in East King County. So those are types of things that you can search for folks if you don't have another way to connect them to services. There's also a piece that is on referral types. And so you can find something that might fit their needs and then look at how that place receives referrals and help navigate clients and other folks through the system that way. So those are the three main pieces as to why we did all of this work to build up this database. I'm going to pause there to see if there are any questions just sort of about all of the behind the scenes work that has happened so far. Yes, Ruben, they will be made available. Thanks for that question. Okay. Hearing no other questions, let's go ahead and march forward. Oh yeah, good question, Rebecca. So this and 211 are pretty similar. 211 has more, obviously not just homelessness services, but also is a referral mechanism. And this is not a referral mechanism. It's more just more comprehensive information on all of the things that they provide. So we have columns, as you'll see in our demonstration. And so you can see, if they allow partners, if they allow pets, if they're contracted with KCRHA, if they're in HMIS. So it just has a little bit more additional details on every single one. So it's consistent information across all of them. But we recognize that there is a lot of overlap, but we wanted to make sure that we had one centralized resource for all of them. Yes, Rebecca, we tried to make it pretty and visually accessible as well. And you'll see too that 211 is in here as part of the referral mechanism column, which I'll show you all later. Thanks for the question. All right, so another common question we get is how this overlaps with different systems and how it's going to be updated, because of course a data system is only as good as frequently and as consistently as it's updated to reflect the actual services that are existing. So first, how can this be used to connect clients with services, which of course is one of its major uses, in addition to advocacy and education, like we talked about before. So this tool really, in the realm of connecting folks to services, is to help outreach workers or other partners thinking through maybe libraries, maybe hospital social workers, all of those different systems that touch folks experiencing homelessness, to seek services or know where to direct them and how to direct them best. It does not, however, allow for enrollment into services or have locations of services. So we have cities and subregions, but we don't have any information on phone numbers or contact numbers because we don't want to be adding another referral mechanism when we have coordinated entry, 211, the family shelter intake line, all of those things. So this is absolutely not jumping in the place of that. You are not going to be prioritized any differently in any of those services. It's really just a database to show you what is out there and how to get connected with the services. And I know that that's been a big piece, especially as we talk to service providers, being concerned about having their information out there as if you can just call or show up and have access to services, which is unfortunately not the way that a lot of these places work. And then on updating the database, we will be collecting updates via a portal. And I wish one of my colleagues was here to be able to put this in the chat, but I will do it in a second. It is on our website as well. So there is a really simple questionnaire. It doesn't even have all the columns. It just says like, what's changed in your services? And then on a regular basis, we will collect all of that, have a meeting and go in and update it. We've decided that's probably going to be a better system than us trying to do it as those come in, just given the volume of email and capacity that we have. And so we are hoping to do that on a quarterly basis, have a team meeting where we sit down, collect all of that information and update it. So that is how we will be updating it. And we also are working in coordination with our HMIS lead, Janelle. And so when there's changes, we know that those changes often need to be reflected both in this database and in HMIS. And so we'll be working together to use information from one portal so that you just have to fill out one change and then it'll go into both systems. So that is what we're working on behind the scenes in order to make sure that this has the most up-to-date information. Are there any questions about that before we dive into the demonstration? I'm actually going to stop sharing really quick so I can put some links in the chat for you since my colleagues aren't able to make it today. Hold on just one moment. All right, so here is a link to where you can put in changes to any of your information. And then let me plop this in, which is where we will go next as we begin the demonstration. This is where the Regional Services Database lives on our website. So feel free to bookmark this page if you want easy access. You can also just bookmark the database itself. All right, and there's someone in the chat. Okay, if there's no other questions, then I will keep going with our demonstration and share this again. So here is the link that I just put into the chat. Sorry, let me make sure I have the participants up in case anyone pops in. So this is some information on what the services database is, how it can be used, and it also has this centralized portal link for updates, which I just popped into the chat. And you were at the information session, so good job there. I also want to point out that under resources and into for funders and policymakers is another way to access this. So it's one of the first things on there, the regional services database. So we can go ahead and dive in. I will just click through and show you all sort of the best ways to be using this. And I hope that it's not too overwhelming. There shouldn't be too many sort of like buttons to click or anything like that. There's basically 3 things you can do, which is show and hide things, filter things, and sort things. And so we tried to make it as simple as possible. And then we also have additional views. So first I'm going to start from just this plain view that should look familiar if you've ever been on an Excel sheet or a Google sheet or anything like that, just your standard spreadsheet. So you can see that we have a bunch of columns. Program name is listed twice because it kind of had to be the way that this works, is that it had to be both in this first column and then also in this column. So just ignore that. They should be exactly the same, no big deal. And then we have the service provider organization. Right now, everything's sorted alphabetically. And then you can go through and see the subregion, the jurisdiction. If the jurisdiction is Seattle and it's particular to a council district, then we have that sort of in there as well. The type of program, which is one of the most common things that I usually filter by. If you're curious if KCRHA currently funds them or if they participate in HMIS, if that's something that you might use or need to know on the back end. You can also see the total units and total beds. I imagine this will be the most common thing that we're updating using that portal. Household types, subpopulation, sort of additional services offered, case management, housing navigation, other health supports, what kind of unit it is, if you have someone that might need a particular type, so apartments versus a shared room versus congregate, if there's food provided. So hopefully this has, a lot of characteristics that someone that's sitting in front of you might need, or if you're working on advocacy, like we talked about, getting more behavioral health supports in a certain region or in a certain program type, all the things that you can adjust and search by. And then finally, referrals. So this is the really important piece where if you have someone sitting in front of you and you want to send them somewhere, instead of sending them to the address or the phone number, this is really where you want to be looking to see, okay, they go through 211 or they go through coordinate entry or the family shelter intake line. I have that phone number, here it is. So that's the piece that's really important, and where this doesn't do the same thing as 211 or coordinate entry, because you still have to go through those systems. It just has all of them listed here. So this is what the spreadsheet version looks like. I also want to point out, if you click on this first column, you can get all of the complete information for just one. So if we want to look at Otto's place, you can click, it turns blue, and you can click, and then you have all of the information that we have on this program. That's another way to just view it instead of scrolling across. So I want to show you a couple other views before we go into sorting and filtering. So if you click up here, on this views button. There are 4 different views at the moment that we have set up. I'm happy to set up more, but didn't want to overwhelm people when we first released it. So this is the spreadsheet view, hopefully self-explanatory if you're familiar with spreadsheets. We also have sort of what we're calling info cards view. So this one has info cards, just 1 card per program. And so it's also in alphabetical order, and it's not sorted by anything in particular or filtered. You can also click on them and again, get all of that information. If you go back up to views again, you can have info cards that are sorted into columns by program type. So this would be helpful if you want to just see all of the emergency housing vouchers, or you can scroll over and look at all of the safe havens. And another fun thing is at the bottom here, you can see how many fall into each category. So this is countywide. So right now we have 54 rapid rehousing programs. So a really quick and easy way to see the number of programs we have across the county just by looking down there at the bottom. And again, here you can click and get all of the information for that one program. And the final view that we have is info cards by subregion, which is something my team is keenly interested in, as we each have our own subregions. Some of them are countywide, particularly the emergency housing vouchers, but you can scroll over and view all of the different services by subregion. Again, sort of being able to see these total numbers and identify gaps or under-resourced locations, keeping in mind demographic and geographic changes, of course. So I'm the South King planner, so I look a lot at these South and Southeast ones. We could click on Phoenix Rising, again, get all the information that you need. All right, are there any questions so far before we dive into sort of how to filter and sort based on different models that you might need? Okay, not hearing any questions. Let me just send the link to someone really quick. Thanks, Daniel. We hope that it's useful. We are very open to feedback. We know that there's so many things floating in our head of things we want to improve on it already, and already thinking about all the different columns we're going to add for version 2. So open to receiving more information and feedback on what you all want to see in sort of an updated data version as well. All right, well, I'm going to go back to the spreadsheet view to just introduce how to hide columns or show columns, filter and sort. But know that you can do this in any of the views that you see, even the ones that are already filtered and sorted. So first, you can hide fields. So let's say you really don't care if it's funded by KCRHA or participating in HMIS. Those are gone. You don't have to see them anymore. But if you want to, and you just can click out of that, and you can see they're 2 hidden and they're just completely out of the view. So this will not delete any of the rows. It will just hide the columns. They're calling columns fields here. So you can do that with any of these. Maybe it doesn't matter to the length of stay, or you just want to eliminate all of these except for 3 in order to see something that's really important to you for whatever project or research you're doing, or the client that's sitting in front of you. You can also hide all or show all if you've really gotten yourself into a mess and hidden too many or anything like that. So anytime that you're using these buttons up here and you change something, so I'm going to hide healthcare, the way that you sort of get out of this being open is just click outside of it. There's not ever going to be like an OK or apply button. You just click outside of it, and you can click back in and you could say show all, and it will reselect all of them. And then you just click out and it'll automatically do it. And I should mention, this is the published public version. So please do not be stressed about deleting anything. It's not possible. It will be a crazy fluke if something gets deleted or you mess something up. I promise you, it will not be your fault. So don't worry about anything happening like that. We've got a very secured version on the back end, if you will. So please don't stress out about that. There's no save button. Everything is very amenable to whatever you need to happen. All right, so that was hide fields. And now we can show filter, which I think is going to be the most useful. It's definitely what my team uses. I come here all the time and I'm filtering. And as an example, it's been very cold lately. So something that people are looking for a lot is emergency shelters. We don't currently have severe weather shelters on here, just given that those change year to year, sometimes week to week, but we do have emergency shelters. And that might be something you're looking for. So I'm the South King County planner. So what I might do is, again, let me just back up 1 second, click filter here. And what I might do is say, I want to look for subregion. And here you can say, if you want it to just be one subregion, you can say is, but I might look at 2 subregions. So I'm going to say the subregion is any of, and that allows you to select more than one. So I'm going to say South and Southeast, my areas, because I'm running the show. This is my demonstration. That's what we're going to do. So now I have every single program that's in South or Southeast. I haven't filtered by anything else. And I'm going to add another condition, which is that I just want to see emergency shelters. So type of program is where emergency shelters live. And I just want one, so is fine. See here, you can only select one. And I'm just going to say is emergency shelter. So now you have this filter where it's saying subregion is South and Southeast, and the type of program is emergency shelter. So if I just want to know the total number that fits that, you click down here all the way in the lower left, it says 14 regions. Regions to them is just number of programs. So we have 14 emergency shelters in South and Southeast King County. And now I can click, maybe I have someone in front of me that's looking to go to one of these. You could add another filter, right? That's for a specific subpopulation. Maybe it's for families, for male identifying individuals, whatever it means. And you can scroll over all the way to look at all of these different things. Maybe they need one that has food, hygiene. But again, you're going to want to look at that referral column to see how do you get this person to actually show up there and work through the right mechanisms in order to get into that shelter. So maybe it's the family shelter intake line. Maybe we don't know, right? There's a lot of different ways. And so this can kind of help guide any client that you might be working with. And to be done with this filter, to view everything again, you would just click up here where it says filtered by subregion, type of program. You could add another condition if you wanted to. I don't even know, maybe we could do household type. And we want to just see if it works with families. So then you can add another one. If you want to just go all the way back to viewing every single service in the region, you click on this little trash can for each of those filters, and it's just going to undo them one at a time. And we are back to all 472 programs. So again, with filter, every time you click on it and you add something, to get out of it, you just click out of it. There's no save, apply, or anything like that. Let me just check the chat really quick. It does not have contact information, and that was a very specific exclusion on our part and an ask by most service providers to not have contact information. So you can go through other mechanisms to get contact information, but we really wanted this to just be a full landscape of services. Again, so that it can be used primarily for those advocacy and education pieces, but also for connecting folks to services as well. It would be extremely challenging to keep updated, but the main purpose is that it was just a request that we still go through those usual referral pathways instead of just having this in front of folks and calling in, because typically that's not going to get you very far. You got to go back and go through coordinated entry, 211, family shelter. And we did not want to jump the line on any of those things or fill the phone lines of any of our wonderful service providers. So very intentional exclusion on our part to not include contact information. We do not have addresses, even some of them that are permanent. For VASH, for example, the permanent housing for veterans, they don't even have the names of the VASH sites. we wanted to make sure that if it's someone's permanent home, if it's permanent supportive housing, especially if it's domestic violence, that we're not showing addresses or locations or anything like that. Really just looking at subregions and cities. And if that's not appropriate, then not including that either. So we really tried to be very intentional about what we included and what we did not include, specifically in this published version. Yeah, thank you for the question. Keep the questions coming. I do have the chat up, so hopefully I will see them. All right, and then the last thing that you can do, I guess you could group. So grouping is going to do sort of like what we saw in that view by subregion and by program type, is just going to organize everything into one specific, in categories based off of the thing that you're grouping by. So we could group by jurisdiction if we wanted to. So this is going to start with countywide. Just click out of here to be able to see. Starts with all of the countywide, and then now it's going into Seattle Council districts. It's alphabetical here, so, and then going to Duval. So going to just sort of group things like that. We could group by another thing if we wanted. So within jurisdiction, grouping again, so sort of a layered group. And you can sort it differently if you want it to show in a different order, or you could group by if they offer case management. So there's a lot of different things. And then again, to just go back to the original view of everything, just going to click X on that, and we're back to alphabetical order by service provider. All right, and then sort is pretty similar to group. It's just going to sort based off of these, and instead of having those breaks, it's just going to be one continuous list of items. So let's say we want to sort by, let's see, I feel like type of program is always what I just default to. We could sort by program name. So right now it's sorted by service provider organization. We could sort by program name. And then we have, of course, symbols and numbers first, and then it's going to go in alphabetical order by program name. And you could go reverse if you wanted. So this is just another way to sort of change the view and help you search. Something that might be useful is, searching by, or sorting, excuse me, by total unit inventory. And you could even do, let's say you were working on exploring how many units were in Seattle. You could come up here and go to filter, maybe go to subregion is Seattle, and then you want to sort that by the number of units. And then you can see we have all of Seattle here in the subregion column. They turn the column green when it's filtered by that. And then we have total units here. Some of them we don't have information on, but you could see, okay, this is going from fewest units to most, and we could change that if we wanted to. And then you have a list of all of the Seattle programs organized by most to fewest in units. So there's lots of different things you could do, whatever you feel like is needed for whatever project or client you're trying to help. And again, to sort of undo all of this, you just go in and you're going to trash that, and you're going to exit out of that sort. Click out of it, and we are back again to all 472. So you can do these same things with the info cards. You can filter them just like we did before. You can sort them, and then you can customize the cards, which is the same thing as in the spreadsheet view. We had hide fields. It's the same exact thing here, where you're just, showing or hiding different cards. So, like different information on each card. So here we've pre-selected for you all service provider organization name, subregion, units, and beds. But maybe that's not useful for you. So what you can do is hide all of them and then just customize it to however you want. So maybe you just want to see the different sort of amenities that are provided. Then you can do that. And then again, just click out of it, and there you go. I see a question in the chat, unit inventory versus bed inventory. Yes, Becky, that's pretty accurate. So beds is like the total number of folks that someone can serve. So maybe a way to think about it is like a converted hotel, right? Might have 30 rooms, but they can host up to like 5 people per room. And so I should have done something easier where I could have done the math faster, but you're going to have a lot more beds than rooms, which would be units. So, but if it's just single room occupancy where you just have one bed, one room, then those are going to be equal. But you're definitely on the right track with the way you're thinking about it. Awesome. And then you can do all of these same things with each of these views. So this one, again, we've pre-selected for you all that it's searched, that it's stacked by type of program. And then within that, you can filter and sort all the same, and same with by subregion. And if there's something, that we hear a lot where people are constantly searching by a specific field, then we can add that view in, and then it's already preset here for you. But right now, this is what we've selected for you pretty randomly, to be honest. So if you have suggestions, we would be open to that. And you can always click through and hide the views like that. Another thing that I'll mention is that when you open it, this might be open for you, this uncategorized. Thankfully, we have no uncategorized. We know which sort of program type and region everything is in. So if that's in your way and bothering you, you can just collapse it using this sort of like arrows pointing at each other, just like that. All right. I think that's everything I have to show you all, but I'd be curious if anyone has any additional questions or wants me to search something for them to see sort of how it would work for whatever you might need searched. No? Does that make sense to everyone? Awesome. Excuse me. Yes, some of it does say unclear. And the reason for that is that it either was unique enough that we didn't make a whole category for it. So going back to when we started that coding activity, or it just was unclear to us, right? Like sometimes we didn't hear back from service providers. Sometimes it was something that just didn't fit into a category. And so you will see some unclears, and I know it's not super helpful to say, but it's unclear what that means typically. So, and if one of yours is unclear, feel free to reach out to us and say like, actually, I see that this is a category or a code that you have that fits ours, and we will incorporate that when we do our quarterly changes. Yes, we tried to have as few unclears as possible, and really tried to reach out to those service providers to get more clarity, but that's the nature of just needing this to be out and published eventually. All righty. Well, I will stop sharing my screen for a moment, unless someone has something that they want me to search for them or show how it would work. But hopefully that was a clear demonstration. And if you ever get lost or confused, you could first and foremost come and watch this recording, but also feel free to reach out to any of us on the sub-regional planning team, as we are intimately familiar with all of the things in this database, and would be happy to walk you through, update anything, or set up an individual time to sort of just walk through what this might means and how you might be able to use it for your own personalized work. But if there are no further questions, then we can end a little bit early, which helps with this recording staying short. And I will happily stay back and field any questions or do any personalized walkthroughs as needed. But thank you all so much for joining. Thank you for your questions and interest in this. Really appreciate it. Thanks, y'all.
Hey, Abby. Sorry, I missed like the whole thing.
It's all good.
Are you, I mean, I can send out the recording, but are you available at all to do just like a 20-30 minute with Teams?
Yeah, absolutely.
On practical, like how it can be used for them to help connect clients to different opportunities, or?
Yeah, I would love to. Do you want to do that now, or do you want to set something up?
Yeah, if we could set something up, that would be great. I could plug into one of the team meetings. Can I just like send you some options?
Please do. I would love that.
Awesome. Fabulous. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna.
Bye.
Okay, I'm seeing some questions in the chat. So let's see. The link will be sent out. Yes. We will send it out to everyone who registered and also just all the contacts we have. Searching by provider name, Ruben, let me share my screen again and show you really quick. Okay, so if you wanted to search by provider name, which I'm guessing is the same as what we have as service provider organization, let me know if you're thinking of something different. But you could do simply just go up here to filter. Sorry, I sometimes have a habit of going too fast. Click filter, and then you're searching by service provider organization. And if you want it to just be one, then you would just click any of these. They show up in alphabetical order. So let's say you wanted, I don't know, Imagine Housing, then you can just find just the ones that fit with that service provider organization. Let me know if that helps, Ruben. Great, thanks, Ruben. Kevin, just reading through your question really quick. Community partner referrals. I would reach out to the organization that says that. So typically what that means is that they have either a formal or informal partnership with them. It's not always a contract, but where they've set up some kind of arrangement where they're calling. So this happens a lot with food banks per se, like this food bank becomes aware of someone who might benefit from services. They might either call or actually just drive that person over. And there's sort of an arrangement there where that food bank is able to sort of get folks in. That of course won't happen if the organization is solely using coordinated entry to refer folks, but a lot of times it's things like that where they have a relationship with a food bank, a school, a hospital, a medical center, and sort of built that up over time. And that's why it says just community referrals general versus a specific, like we work with this hospital to locate folks. So it's a little bit more informal, which is why it's also a little bit vague on the sheet. Oh, okay, great, Ruben, yeah. Does that help answer your question, Kevin?
Yes and no. I mean, Soto in particular, their contact info is not easily found anywhere.
Gotcha. Yeah. I don't know. I wish Sparrow, my colleague from Seattle, was on the call because she might have a little bit more information on how they receive referrals or how to get a hold of them. I can certainly put you in contact with her to get more information on, becoming either formally or informally partnered with that organization. I know that she knows a lot about Soto. So yeah, I will email the two of you, no problem. Any other questions? Ruben, did you want me to show you Chief Seattle Club really quick? There we go. Awesome, perfect. Well, thank you both. Kevin, would you mind putting your email in the chat? I'm sure I can find it via the registration, but it might be a lot easier if you just pop it in the chat for me right now. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for joining. Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Ruben. Feel free. I'll put my email in the chat. Maybe I should have done that during the demonstration, but if anything comes up, feel free to shoot me an email and I'm happy to walk through or find the answer for you. Awesome. Thanks, y'all. Have a good rest of your day. And thanks for joining.